I'm going to make this top, which is the final piece in this outfit, using traditional Japanese patterns to make quite a modern ensemble. The pattern for every part of this outfit is in the description. Come along, let's have a look at how we make it. We just finished making the Susoyoke. We've made a Haori. We need a top. So what I'm going to make is a kimono top. I'm using the pattern to create a really nice casual kimono top that you can wear with anything, that's really easy to make but also has the beautiful kimono sleeve. It's going to look fantastic as an ensemble with this outfit, and something that can go into a Western wardrobe as well, be worn with jeans. It's going to have a turned neckline instead of having a collar, which makes it really easy to make. And if you're wearing it without the Haori, you have these beautiful flowing Japanese sleeves. It's going to look fantastic. I'm using this beautiful cotton lawn. It's from Japan itself, so it's absolutely wonderful. And I used it on this Susoyoke. It's a beautiful just off-white. So it's not perfectly white, stark white. It's got just that little bit of hint of cream in it. Gives it a real sort of vintage, classic, Parisian feel to it, rather than being stark white. So it's really cool. I think it's going to look absolutely beautiful as just a little topper to this outfit. It's going to be brilliant. I'm going to put the cutting guide up on the screen so you can see what I've done and see what I'm doing. And I'm going to cut this, or in my case, because I'm using cotton lawn, I'm going to tear this into quarters by finding the center, giving it a clip, and doing the same again. I'm going to press everything, and especially press in the halfway point like that. Like we do with all the other patterns that we make. I've got the two body pieces here with two pieces that can be used once I cut them in half again to make front overlaps. Literally the parts that overlap at the front, just like this yukata here. You can see there is a seam here. That is the overlap, which makes this double-breasted in a way. So there's another one going under here and one going under here. That's what makes the garment cross over, and what we're going to use to make our kimono top cross over. So there you go. This is why it's so great. It's halves and halves again. There is measuring, but there's not too much of it. I'm now going to press these bits that I've just torn apart, and I'm also going to take the body pieces and now press them directly in half, each separately, just like I did with the sleeves, so we can match up the Sodoyama and Katayama when it comes to putting them together. Here we're making all the ties. So these are the different things for the closures of your kimono top. So I've got here one sash that goes around and ties a bit like this, just over the top, and that is purely stylistic. So that's just to have a little cincher in there, because what really does the trick is these. We're going to have 4 of these, and these are ties that go from the diagonal points here into your underarm, tying on both sides, holding the whole thing closed, and then we just cinch it with this. Now, you can use a completely different fabric for this cinching belt. You could use something that's heavily embroidered or brocade, anything to make this, because what this is your belt. But I'm going to show you how to make it out of all the fabric we've got. So I'm going to press these and then we'll get sewing. We're going to start marking now, And it's a lot like all the other patterns that I do. Quite simple. This is all included in the pattern, and I'll put a graphic up now so you can see what I'm talking about. What I'm marking here is this on the shoulder here. I've got lots of videos showing you how to do this. It's really simple. Come across 4 inches, down the back by 2 inches, and then I join that up with a curve. And you can use anything to do that curve, or you can just do it by eye. Making sure that it's straight once you get to the center back. And we'll cut that out later once we've attached our front overlaps. Now we have the marking out of the way. First thing I like to do is get all the ties done. I feel like these are slightly monotonous tasks. So it's great to get them done first, then they're out of the way and you don't have to think of them or jump into doing them. The center back, line up your 2 body pieces, right sides together. And so from the hem up to the center back neck, which remember is 2 inches down from that shoulder line where we marked it earlier. Now we attach the overlaps to the front. So we line up the hems and sew straight up like that. We now have the body together. You've got 2 front overlaps down here. You've got your center back seam, that's all sewn up. What we can do now is flip it all onto its side. So we have it even like that. There we go. So that is my center back neck. This is center back neck, this is the neckline. And what it's gonna do, it's gonna carry on down here. That is the back, this is the front, that's the shoulder, and these are the front overlap. What you want to do now is link up this point where the neckline meets the shoulder, and this point on the center front opening, and that's just with a big straight line like this. So scribe that in. And then what we do is we go up and we cut this out. So you now have a neckline. And all we do with this, I'll open it up for you. And with this, we double turn it. So we go along, turn once, and press, turn again, and sew. Or you can sew twice, you can double turn it, but we double turn this neckline all the way around, down to this point. And here we'll sew a tie, so we leave that for the moment. And this is how the neckline should look. It's lovely and neat all the way around. And look at that symmetry. This is one of the most satisfying things about making Japanese clothes, is these little moments. Crosses over and you've got this perfect line straight down the middle of those seam allowances. Absolutely beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is secure some ties to these before we then turn this, what is now the center front opening, so the edge of these overlaps. I'm going to put some ties onto them and then we'll deal with the sleeves. The placement of the ties is pretty important. Here we have the body of our top, and so there's the neck hole up there. Here we have the crossover, determines which way they tie, whether they tie inside the garment or on the outside of the garment. And this gets a little bit more important when you consider East Asian custom, that you always, man or woman, doesn't matter who, you dress left over right. A great way to remember this is left over right. Because in East Asia, dressing the other way, so having right over left, is reserved for the dead, and it's how you dress a dead person. So you don't do it the other way. This way, we remember which way we're doing it, and we don't make any mistakes as we're doing that. So it's in the pattern. I'll put a graphic up here so we know which side is which. What this means is we're going to have a tie here, and this will be incorporated into the center front opening. So we're going to turn this back twice, the same way we did with the collar, and on the second turn, we'll put this in and secure it at the end there. So we'll have it like this and turn it. We'll incorporate the end of this into that second turn on that one. This is going outside, so this needs to go on, it needs to come out of the seam. So we sew this to here and always make sure that it's coming out onto the right side of the fabric when we sew the side seam, so it will be coming out. Then on the other side, this one goes on this side. This is going to be sewn into the garment, so it needs to be on the inside, so we just put it on the inside of the garment. And the other opening, the other center front is done exactly the same way as the first center front, but it's this second side one that we need to remember. This needs to go inside the garment. So we sew this to the seam allowance, but so it doesn't come out of the seam and goes on the inside of the garment. So you would sew it about there, just on the inside, and so it's all caught. When the seam comes down, it's on the inside and it's part of the seam allowance, and then we tack it on and make it a bit more secure there as well. So for the first one, I'm going to attach the outside side tie. This is the outside of the garment, this is the right side of the garment, and it's facing that way, so when I catch it in the seam allowance, it's on the outside. So I'm going to do a similar one with this one. I'm going to trim the end of it, make sure that it's nice and neat, and get it right there. So the seam allowance is going to pass by at about 3/4 of an inch up here, and I want to keep it inside, so it's going to be inside the jacket. You see with that one, I did 2 lines of stitching on it. Because it's not going to be passed by the seam, I wanted to just secure it, get that second line of stitching in, so it's nice and secure. And you can put another line of stitching, you can really hammer this down so it's not moving anywhere. But the key is to just make it a bit more secure than the other one, because there's no seam that's going to pass across it to hold it down there. Next we move on to the center front. So what we're doing is the same as we did with the neckline. We put them over like this, sew them down, and then so we're doing a double turn. So turn it once, so we're turning it like that, and then at this point I want to insert the tie at the top here and get it incorporated into this first turn. So then when I do the second turn, it's completely incorporated in the turns. So line it up there. Again, I'm making it quite secure. It's going to have another pass across it when we close this, but it's just, you can't be too careful. You want these to stay in place. They are holding the garment together after all. And then now I'm going to do the second turn. So we get everything lined up. And there it is, that will hang down like that. Looking absolutely fantastic. Do the same with the other side. And there are your ties, looking amazing. Don't they look great there? Now it's time to put on some sleeves while we've got these lovely big long stretches here and not a 3D body. This is one of the best things about this kind of pattern, is that you're sewing on sleeves on the flat. Lots of different patterns for lots of different garments. Obviously you're sewing in a sleeve in a circle, in a 3D shape, so you have to deal with ease and lots of different markers. Here we've got 3, 1, 2, 3. You line them up, get everything flat, and you sew from A to B. It is that simple. It's so quick. The same thing happens then with the side seams. That's what makes this so easy, and it really does come up in a jiff. So I'm going to go and sew this. So you press your sleeves open like this, and then the thing is, once you go beyond the seam that we just did, is to start training these sides back, because we're going to turn these back anyway once we make the sleeve whole. But you can do this now while it's a 2D shape rather than a 3D shape, and really make it a bit easier. And I've done the same here with the cuff. While it's all flat, it's easier to turn this back and just train it. You see there's one mark and here's the other. Just train it back so I'm not having to press when the whole thing's in a big 3D shape like this, and going around trying to press all that, or at the back of the sleeve like I showed just before. So this will all be turned back like that, but getting it done now makes it easier later. So now we'll go and do the side seams and talk about Miyatsuguchi. Miyatsuguchi is a little opening between where the sleeve meets the body and the side seam. So it would be a little opening around here. It would just go just after the tie is. So it would go from here to about here, like that. You can put this in if you're going to say wear camisoles or something underneath it, because it will be under your arm, under here. And if you don't want to sort of show under your arm, that's fine. You don't have to have it if you're using a nice light fabric like this. The thing that it does is it helps the sleeve. I'll show you with this. It helps the sleeve fall flatter. So you see it isn't sort of knotted in to the side there. So if you're using any heavier fabric, you want one just so the sleeve can fall with that beautiful sleeve bag like that. That's the point. Well, the point of the Miyatsuguchi was so you can get into your outfit. So women wearing kimono, they have a lot of ties and things going on the inside, and so they can get in and then tie things. But it does also help the sleeve fall when they're long sleeves, especially like this, which are going to be as long as this. So that's up to you. It's a decision to make for yourself. I would say put in a little one, and if you don't, you never sew all the way up and close this right there. You always leave about ½ an inch or about 1 centimeter when you're closing your side seam here, so there isn't a lot going on in this junction. Come all the way up to where the sleeve to body seam is, then you're going to have a lot of knotting here. You need to leave a little bit of a gap somewhere so it all has room to breathe and things can fall nicely. I'm going to leave a little gap to about there. So bring your garment out, lay it nice and flat, get the center back, bring the front in, and you want to bring these right sides together. So we're looking at the inside of the entire top. But now is when we do the side seams, and we have to consider especially our ties. So make sure that the right tie is coming out of the right part at the right time. So the front, they're done. That doesn't matter. They're fine in there and it looks fantastic. These are the two that we're considering. I'll get the sleeves up and out of the way. We're dealing with them later. And you see it is on the different side because now we're looking at a different part of the kimono. We're looking at it from the inside. So what I want to do is tuck that in and have it sit. Make sure it isn't pulling the seam or anything. So when we pass across it, it's going to slide in easily there, and you can pin it down to make that happen. So that is coming out of the jacket. This one will be staying in. So When it's sewn, we actually just leave it. I'm going to put a pin there so I know not to bring it in. And that will now be on the inside of the jacket because this will be pressed open. So that's all looking fine. I'm going to double check that. That's coming out, that's staying in. This is the inside of the jacket. There's seam allowances. So now what I can do is line up my seam allowances here. They've been sort of trained before from our pressing that we talked about. Make sure this is flat. Get this flat. Make sure that's the most important thing, is that that is flat at the point of the seam. Put all your attention onto that and line it up, and then I'll put a couple of pins in. And then I'm going to put a second pin in so I know that that is the end of the seam. Best thing about Miyatsugutshi as well is if you've sewn it all together and you don't like it, you think it looks silly or it's just wrong in some way, then you just get back in there and sew it up. It's very easy to reach, it's very easy to do as well because everything's pressed, you have lots of guidelines and you just close the Miyatsugutshi and it's as easy as that, it really is. So you don't have to fret too much about it because it is an odd concept to have. But once you start using them, you'll realize their potential and what they can do for your garment. Right, this is lying straight. This is the most important thing. Check that this tie is okay. We're on the inside of the garment, right sides are together. Let's go. Before we start partying, we just check on that. Lovely, look at that, that's coming out beautifully. That will be pressed nicely and it's going to look fabulous. All right, other side seam. There we have it, the side seams are done. All we have to do now is close the sleeves. Very simple, we do close along the bottom and then we close up to the cuff. And then we've already trained back the back and the cuff. So this is the back of the sleeve that goes to the side. We've trained that back with pressing and we just whip around with that with a really big stitch just to hold this back. And then as far as the front goes, we close up. In fact, I'll show you on mine. We close from the corner up and then the cuff is turned back twice. The same way that we did around the neckline on here. After that, we do a hem and it's finished. Let's get going. You can turn the cuffs back now if you want as well. We've trained them back and we never sew them right up to the actual cuff mark when we do them. Again, it gets things out of the way while you're working in 2D. There we go. Doesn't that look spectacular? That the Japanese cotton lawn is really something else, isn't it? Oh, that looks good. Let's get it on the mannequin and have a look. So you see here, we've got the ties. You tie the one on the inside, like so. Like a lot of jackets from the Far East, if you've got a samui, a lot of Chinese jackets are like this as well. You tie one side and then you tie the other. And you move it along. It's got that beautiful asymmetry. Yeah, you can see that with the tie going down into there. But we also made this. This is so you can cinch it. Now you don't need it particularly, but it does make it a little bit more versatile and mean that you can wear it with maybe some other things. It's going to cause a little bit of a peplum here, which I think is going to look fantastic. You often see this as people dress in kimono. There's lots of stages throughout the actual dressing process where the outfit is incredible, but it's technically a state of undress. They're in some kind of, in their getting ready stages, rather than actually being ready. And there's something I love about that. When you're putting on the datajime over the nagujuban, which is a thick band that goes around here, and you've got the ohashori, which is a fold here at the waist. This is in women's dressing. At that point, it looks like a suit with a sort of corseted obi belt, and it looks fantastic. I'm always like, stop there. Let's just stop there. And of course you don't, because that's not the traditional way. But there are lots of moments in the dressing of kimono where there are these stunning little moments, and the outfit looks incredible before it's even ready. And so I'm trying to capture those little moments here. And I think I have. This is brilliant. So see, we've created this lovely, because you've got so much space in this, you've created a peplum at the waist, and then it's just caught here by the Susoyoke. And of course, if you didn't want that, you can wear the Susoyoke a little bit higher, and that would be obscured completely. But I think it's cool that it sort of drops down then into the skirt as well. And you can't tell, are you looking at a dress, or does the shirt have like an undershirt like they used to? It's quite cool. Very exciting. I think that looks fantastic. And it's the crossover as well that just makes it so chic. Taking away from that, the symmetry, making that asymmetrical line. That is wonderful. I'll bring you in for a closer look. So I've undone it again. You can see it's just in the natural state. You can see the bow, that sort of, you can let that back out again. Yeah, it really does look quite fine. Now, let's try the whole set. So we made the Susoyoke, we made kimono top, and now let's put on the Haori. So yeah, there you go. Do you see them? I always think of them. They're like rabbit's ears that fall out the back. And this is what happens when you start layering kimono and you get the glimpses. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I hope you make at least one of these garments as well. They're so much fun. If you're just starting out, try the skirt. Honestly, it is so easy. But I hope you enjoyed watching this. Please make them. Please tell me what you made and show me what you made on my social media links. It's exciting to see a pattern you've written come to life with someone else's imagination using their colors and their fabrics. It really is fantastic. So grab the patterns, watch the other videos, and maybe you can make an outfit just like this. The pattern for every part of this outfit is in the description. I'm Kimono Alex. This is House of Kimono. Follow me for everything about kimono.